When a tiny frog hops into a giant tarantula's burrow, it seems like it's walking right into a trap. But the spider checks the frog with its legs, and if the frog has the right chemical signals, it's safe. The frog helps by munching on ants that could attack the spider's eggs. In return, the tarantula becomes the frog's bodyguard, scaring off bigger predators. It makes the frog seem like a pet, but they're really just tolerant roommates. If you get kicked by a horse, it would shatter your ribs instantly, and the pieces would pierce your organs, causing massive internal bleeding. A kangaroo, on the other hand, would use its tail for balance before kicking you with both feet. This would damage your organs, and its claws would leave deep gashes in your chest. But a gorilla could punch you with over 1,000 pounds of force, breaking your bones and knocking you unconscious. And the second punch would almost certainly kill you. If your kitten grew to the size of a tiger, you might think it would be cute, but it would weigh over 600 pounds, and unlike a wild animal, it wouldn't be afraid of you. A single pounce would be enough to shatter your ribcage, and a gentle bite would crush your bones. As it played, it would bat your head like a toy, breaking your neck, and when it got tired, it could curl up on your chest, slowly choking you to death. A mountain lion pounced on the 5-year-old, dragging him across the ground. Hearing the screams, his mother ran outside and saw the lion clawing and biting her son. Without hesitation, she ran at the animal, screaming and throwing herself at it with her bare hands. She wrestled the lion until it let go of her son and ran off into the woods. The boy was rushed to the hospital with severe injuries, but ended up surviving. The elephant charged and trampled her as she tried to run from the herd, and she soon died from the injuries. But as her family prepared for her funeral, the same elephants came back for more. Funeral goers scattered, leaving her body behind, and one elephant lifted her corpse, flinging it into the air. The herd then destroyed her home and 3 others nearby, leaving everyone wondering, what did she do to that elephant? If you're about to hit a deer, most people will swerve to avoid the impact, but this can result in a crash far more deadly. Instead, brake as smoothly as you can. Keep the car straight and brace for impact. Now, right as you hit the deer, take your foot off the brake so that your car pushes the deer along the road. If you don't, the deer could roll over your car and smash through the windscreen, killing you both. If you fall into a gorilla exhibit, you might try to scream and run, but this could upset the gorillas, making them attack. Instead, stay calm and avoid sudden movements. Slowly crouch down to look small and non-threatening, and don't make eye contact. Calmly back away towards a safe structure like the enclosure walls. If a gorilla approaches, stay still and they might just lose interest. And remember, zoo staff are trained for these emergencies, so wait for their help to escape safely. The bear charged at the woman in her backyard, ready to attack. But right before it struck, her wiener dog barked and lunged at the bear, forcing it to stop. The bear swiped at the dog, slicing into its skin, but it didn't back down, and the distraction gave the woman enough time to defend herself. The dog chased the bear off, barking until it disappeared into the woods. The crocodile lunged out of the pond, clamping onto his foot. It dragged him into the water, shaking him to pull off his limbs. The farmer kicked it and reached for its head before sinking his teeth into its eyelid. And after a second, it let go. He managed to escape and used a rope to stop the bleeding. And after a month in the hospital, he survived. If a frog grew to the size of a car, it could definitely swallow you whole. But frogs eat by opening their mouths wide and sucking in their prey. Now, even if it managed to swallow you, it can't digest something that big. It would eject its entire stomach through its mouth, flipping it completely inside out, forcing you up its throat. Then the frog swallows the stomach back down, putting it back in place. He stuck his hand through the bars to pet the animal, and instantly the tiger's powerful teeth sank into his flesh. He struggled to pull away, but the animal refused to let go, shaking its head violently and tearing into his arm. Blood poured onto the ground as onlookers screamed for help. His arm was nearly severed, but he refused to let the doctors amputate it, and despite their efforts to save him, he later died from the attack. If you encounter a grizzly bear and try to run, they'll easily catch you. Instead, stay calm and avoid eye contact while slowly backing away. If the bear charges, stand your ground, because most charges are actually bluffs. If it does attack, lie flat on your stomach, covering your neck with your hands. Stay still and play dead, as grizzlies often lose interest if they perceive no threat. They demanded his money, but the delivery man refused, so they pulled out a snapping turtle. They pushed the turtle right up to his face, its jaws snapping. The burglars warned him not to move, or the turtle would bite him. The man stayed still while they grabbed his money pouch and ran off with the turtle. A man was dragged into the river by his beloved hippo, the very animal he had raised since it was a baby. Years earlier, he had rescued the young hippo from a flood. He would often ride it around his property, despite warnings about the risks of keeping a wild animal. But one day, while they were in the river, the hippo attacked. It bit down multiple times and wouldn't let go, and tragically, the man didn't survive. If a kangaroo is being chased by a dog, it might jump into a river. Now, once in the water, the kangaroo waits. The dog, following the chase, will usually swim after it. As the dog swims closer, the kangaroo grabs it with its powerful arms and sharp claws. Next, it pushes the dog's head underwater and holds it there, trying to drown it. With its strong claws, the kangaroo grips tight, using its weight to keep the dog submerged until it stops moving. The boy suddenly fell into the gorilla pit, causing the crowd to panic. You see, he had climbed over a barrier and dropped 15 feet into a pool of water. Zookeepers rushed to get the gorillas inside, but one ended up approaching the boy. For 10 minutes, he dragged the boy through the water and moved him to a dry area. But zookeepers felt the boy was still in danger, so they made the heartbreaking decision to shoot the gorilla, killing him instantly. The world mourned his death, with many creating tributes, ensuring his memory lived forever. The cougar charged at the boy in his backyard, ready to pounce. But just before it did, his dog came running. She lunged at the predator, fighting it off as the boy ran to safety. By the time police arrived, the cougar had the dog by her neck. Now, they managed to shoot it, but the dog wasn't moving. That is, until the boy stepped forward. Suddenly, she let out a deep breath, stood up, and went straight over to him. She recovered from her wounds, and for saving his life, he bought her the biggest steak he could find. Your dog could be attacked by a predator looking for food, but you can dress it in a special vest, which is covered in sharp metal spikes. These stick out in every direction, and when the predator tries to grab it, they'll get a painful stab. With no way to grip, it's forced to let go, allowing your dog to escape. Just be sure you don't put it on inside out. They tie a small rope around the baby's leg, tight enough that it can't break free. Now, the elephant pulls and tugs for days, but the rope holds tight. Eventually, the baby gives up. But once the elephant is fully grown, they still tie it up. And even though it's now strong enough to snap the rope with ease, it doesn't. It stands there bound up like it was when it was young. You see, it still believes that the rope is stronger than him, meaning what's holding it back isn't the rope, it's just the belief that breaking free is impossible. If you fired a bullet at a bear's massive thick skull, you might assume the bone could stop it cold. But a high-velocity bullet would likely shatter the skull on impact with devastating force. However, the bear's skull does have a uniquely sloped surface, and if the bullet were low caliber, shot off at just the right angle, there's a small chance that it could ricochet off instead. The bird spits a thin strand of saliva onto the rock. Then it adds another, building it up layer by layer. As the saliva dries, it forms a hard cup-shaped nest. Harvesters remove these nests from the cave walls and clean it until it's pure white. When the nest is cooked, it melts into a thick soup that people eat, believing that it helps their skin look healthier. And because each nest takes weeks for a single bird to build, they sell for thousands of dollars per pound, making these spit nests one of the most valuable foods in the world. He robbed a couple at knife point, but security guards saw and immediately chased him. Panicked, he sprinted toward a nearby zoo, hoping to hide inside until it was safe. But in the darkness, he unknowingly climbed into the tiger enclosure. Inside were two fully grown tigers, startled by the man. Before he realized his mistake, they attacked, biting his neck and mauling him severely. When police arrived, the man was already dead and covered in bite marks. Left in the cold, she crawled into a dog kennel for warmth and ended up staying there for 5 years. During that time, she learned to bark, growl, and walk on all fours like her canine companions. By the time she was rescued, she had lost the ability to speak and would eat like a dog, lick herself, and even pant. Authorities struggled to rescue her as the dogs fiercely protected her, but they eventually lured the pack away with food. She was reintroduced to society but retained the animal behaviors. They painted black and white stripes across the cow's back, then added thinner lines down the legs. You see, flies sense how light reflects off the cow's back, using it to guide where they land, then they bite into their skin. But the stripes mess with how the light reflects on the cow's back, scrambling the fly's ability to focus and slow down. So instead of biting the cow, they bounce off or fly right past. And that's the same reason why zebras evolved to have stripes. The dog was sucked out of the garage and disappeared into the tornado. He was picked up and thrown by the storm, breaking both of his front legs. But this dog was determined to go back home and began crawling using only his working back legs. And 3 weeks after the storm, his owners found him sitting on their front porch, covered in cuts and dirt, but alive. He was rushed to the vet, and after weeks of recovery, he finally stood again. The bird was stuffed inside the doll, and a head was placed on top. When the child picked it up, it would twitch and move. Even its beak would open and close. But as the bird struggled to escape, it would make the toy move, almost like it was powered by gears. Now, eventually, the bird would die, and the doll would turn into a coffin, holding the rotting corpse of the trapped animal. Thousands of dead mice wearing tiny cardboard parachutes were dropped over the jungle, and each one contained a small dose of Tylenol. You see, the jungle was full of invasive snakes, and they would slither into electrical wires, electrocuting themselves and causing massive power outages. But if they ate the mice, that tiny amount of Tylenol inside was enough to kill them. This cut down on the population and stopped the power outages. When humans die, their bodies start to decompose, emitting a strong odor that can attract their pets. Driven by hunger and instincts, in some cases they may begin to nibble. Cats often go for easier soft tissues, like your nose and lips, before the body starts to become stiff. While dogs usually wait for the body to start to smell before they're interested. Now, this behavior is not out of malice, but rather survival instincts. A butterfly's tongue is as thin as a strand of hair and hollow like a tiny straw, and it could be threaded through the eye of a needle. Now, if you took a hippo's tongue and dropped it onto a microwave, it would cover the entire surface. But the blue whale's tongue is so massive that if you plopped it onto a car, the 5-ton muscle would crush the metal completely, flattening it like a pancake. A bombardier beetle will shoot hot liquid out of a tube at the end of its abdomen when attacked by ants. This happens when they mix chemicals in their body together, creating a reaction that makes a boiling hot liquid around 212 degrees. Then, the beetle shoots it out of a little nozzle, allowing it to aim the spray in different directions. The burning spray gives the beetle enough time to prepare its wings and fly away.